Friday.
Awesome.
And I'm going to try to get Jesse LaGreca.
Cool.
If that name
Jesse
rings a bell.
LaGreca, who I first met Jesse years and years and years ago when he was blogging just on Daily Kos as Ministry of Truth. Mm-hmm. And I found him. I said, you're great.
I read the news today. Oh, boy.
It's time for Nicole Sandler's What's News from NicoleSandler.com and the Progressive Voices Network.
He's only been president for 3 weeks, but chaos is running rampant in Dump's White House. Kellyanne Conway, after giving us the new alternative facts lexicon and inventing the Bowling Green massacre, went on the original fake news channel to audition for QVC.
Go buy Ivanka's stuff is what I would tell you. It's a wonderful line. I own some of it. I'm going to give a free commercial here. Go buy it today, everybody. You can find it online.
In his daily White House press briefing on Thursday, spokesman Sean Spicer said
Kellyanne has been counseled, and that's all we're going to go with. She's been counseled on that subject, and that's it.
That came after the fascist carnival barker tweeted, "My daughter Ivanka has been treated so unfairly by Nordstrom. She's a great person, always pushing me to do the right thing." Terrible! Not only was that tweet also sent from the official @POTUS account outrageous, there are questions about when it was sent.
Worrisome thing about Trump's tweet is that it was written at 10:51 a.m., but according to the president's daily schedule, he was supposed to be receiving his daily intelligence briefing at 10:30 a.m. So is Trump skipping out on an intelligence briefing to tweet about his daughter's business? White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer tried to clear things up.
The timing of that tweet, it looked like it was right after his president, PDB, during, can you just...
I've heard the conjecture. He was free when that happened.
But why was he free when that happened? Did the briefing really take less than 20 minutes? If he was tweeting about Nordstrom right after the briefing, something tells me he wasn't totally focused during the briefing.
Poor Sean Spicer is having a tough time answering for all of this administration's many problems. He had a bit of a meltdown on Thursday when asked about Dump's Supreme Court nominee Neil Gorsuch, who reportedly told Senator Richard Blumenthal that Dolt 45's recent attacks on the judiciary are, quote, disheartening and demoralizing. Spicer would shut one reporter down and the next would continue along the same line of questions, as they should until they get an answer.
We've addressed it from this briefing room over and over and over again that the U.S. Code gives the president very clear authority to make this happen. Cecilia.
I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. Are you saying that demoralizing and disheartening was not specifically about the president's comments and what he said? And if so, how does the president know that?
I think the judge literally made it very clear in his comments.
They corroborate.
I understand that.
3 other senators.
I understand that, Cecilia. I understand that, and that is, she has made it very clear over and over again. Yeah.
Your answer about the context doesn't make sense.
Phil, this is like the fourth time I've asked an answer.
No, but this is a different context.
I understand that, Phil. I've asked.
This is directly about.
I understand that. I don't know how many times you can ask. Yeah.
It was only about.
I understand it. Thank you. Yeah.
Sean, I'm going to continue on this line despite what's happening there. Why isn't the president concerned about the influence or the appearance of the influence on the independent judiciary?
Why isn't he? He is free to speak his mind. Why? I understand it. So I'm not sure how many more times I can read the code to you.
Me talking about it is not how the judicial process works.
Thank you. You've asked the question now 8 times.
One more. I'd like to ask you. About a different set of comments.
And that was all before the Ninth Circuit Court ruled against Twitler.
It's a 29-page opinion, and it is a complete and total repudiation of the Trump administration's legal position in this case. It says that the state of Washington and the state of Minnesota have standing. They have the right to bring this case, and they have made a preliminary showing that the executive order is unconstitutional. So the stay put into effect by Judge Robart, the George W. Bush appointee in Seattle, is still in effect. The other point is that it is unanimous among the judges, the Carter appointee, the Obama appointee, and the George W. Bush appointee. So there is no political division among the 3 judges. The Trump administration has lost dramatically and completely, and they're going to have to decide what to do now.
But wait, there's more. And this one is more damning than the others. The Washington Post reports Friday morning that National Security Advisor Mike Michael Flynn privately discussed U.S. sanctions against Russia with their ambassador to the United States during the month before the president took office, despite their claims to the contrary. Flynn's actions were interpreted by some senior U.S. officials as an inappropriate and potentially illegal signal to the Kremlin that it could expect a reprieve from sanctions that were imposed by the Obama administration to punish them for their alleged interference in the 2016 election. Flynn on Wednesday denied that he had discussed sanctions with the ambassador. Asked in an interview whether he had ever done so, he twice said, quote, no. On Thursday, Flynn's spokesman said that Flynn, quote, indicated that while he had no recollection of discussing sanctions, he couldn't be certain that the topic never came up. Either way, I say Flynn has got to go. He either lied, not only to us, but to the VP as well, and violated the Logan Act, which prohibits U.S. citizens from interfering in foreign diplomacy. That, or he's suffering from a debilitating condition in which he can't remember crucial conversations with foreign officials. I can't even imagine what could happen in the fourth week of this frightening administration, so I won't. But I'm headed out on vacation. I'll return in a week. Perhaps Kellyanne Conway, Sean Spicer, and Michael Flynn will all be exiled to Redemption Island. Or better yet, fired. I'm Nicole Sandler, going on vacation, but Boca Brittany Summers will be filling in for me at NicoleSandler.com and on the Progressive Voices Network. You hold down the fort while I'm gone, okay? Good luck.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Oh, no. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
It's Friday, you bastards.
You know, girls, it's great to live in a democracy today, where freedom is everywhere. But girls, we often take this freedom for granted. Freedom of speech.
Really?
Freedom of thoughts.
Really?
And freedom of action. But you know, gals,
what?
Just because a bunch of men signed that Declaration of Independence in 1776 doesn't mean that freedom was for men alone.
Oh, no?
Oh, no, you take Tom Jefferson.
Okay.
Ben Franklin.
You know.
John Hancock.
Adorable.
There's a hell of a guy for you right there.
Very cute.
All these men had wives. They probably had a few broads on the side, too.
Really?
These women wanted freedom just as much as their men did.
Right.
But, gals, I wonder, do we? I think it's time that we women thought about it a bit.
Okay.
Hell, I think it's time we did something about it.
Hell.
So come on, fellow females of the 20th century.
21st.
Be glad that you're an American.
I am.
Proclaim your freedom.
Freedom.
And attention.
Oh, dear God.
Pledge allegiance.
Allegiance and...
the ban have anything to do with religion? How did the president decide the 7 countries? I understand the permanent ban on the refugees.
Okay.
Talk to me.
I'll tell you the whole history of it. So when he first announced it, he said Muslim ban. He called me up. He said, put a commission together. Show me the right way to do it legally.
Idiot boy sunk his own freaking presidency. Oh, yeah. You know, Donald J. Trump is going to put a complete and total ban on Muslims entering the U.S. That was taken in by the court. Also, as evidentiary, material was one Rudy Giuliani sitting there talking to Granny Cam Janine Pirro. Yeah, she's the Fox Granny Cam. So, this was taken into the court's decision-making process. That they were looking at everything that Trump said about a Muslim ban. They had looked at everything his surrogates and his advisors had said about a Muslim ban. That there was no risk that was ever entered into the record. And that, they were adamant and their intention was to ban Muslims from this country. So Donald, welcome to the world of extreme court vetting. Woohoo! He was vetted extremely. And again, you know, I hate to say it, but we were right. We picked out the moments in time when this case was lost. We actually told you, we showed you when this entire case was lost. It was when Rudy Giuliani said, you know, the Muslim ban, and it was when Donald J. Trump said that it was a Muslim ban. But at the court, when they were arguing their case at the court, there were two moments. And this was one of them.
In naming those 7 countries, what Congress did was to provide that people coming from those countries had to get visas. In other words, they couldn't just come into the country without a visa. And that permitted, of course, the usual investigations before you give somebody a visa. And in the transcript of the hearing in the district court asks the representative of the Department of Justice, you know, you're in the Department of Justice, how many federal offenses have we had being committed by people who came in with visas from these countries? And the ultimate was the answer was there haven't been any.
Yes, Your Honor. These proceedings have been moving quite fast, and we're doing the best we can. I can
You're
cite...
saying that the proceedings are moving fast, but you appealed to us before you continued in the district court to develop the record. So why should we be hearing this now if it sounds like you're trying to say you're going to present other evidence later?
Well, I was just about to at least mention a few examples. There have been a number of people from Somalia connected to al-Shabaab who have been convicted in the United States.
Is that in the record? Can you point us to where in the record you're referring?
It is not in the record.
Okay, strike one. It's not in the record. They had absolutely no risk assessment to present to the judge to take under advisement. They had absolutely no examples of anybody from any of these 7 countries or any refugees in our country from other countries committing acts of violence from these 7 countries. So that was the first part. And you know what's this is important in this way. I think. I don't think the Supreme Court is going to hear this case. I really don't. And I'll tell you why. Because they haven't finished their case. This is why it was so key that the judge on the Ninth Circuit said, why are you coming to us? You have no risk, that you can present to the court as evidence of needing a ban. You have absolutely, you say that you're rushed, and yet at the district court level, you didn't develop your case. You didn't complete your case. You didn't say, here are the people that have committed crimes. Here are the people that committed acts of terrorism. Here are the people from these 7 nations that, are indicative of the kind of people that were taking it. None of that happened at the district court because they don't have that case. And so this is why that moment was so important and why I believe the Supreme Court won't take it. The Supreme Court will not take a case until the case is done. It's the ultimate appeals court. Now, this was an appeals court as well, okay? This is the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And so the next Court of Appeals is the Supreme Court, and they're going to have the same reaction. They're going to say, go back to the freaking district court and make your damn case. Make your case. Because you certainly haven't made it up until now. And then the other thing that was so insulting, that was bizarre, that, where Donald Trump's lawyer that he chose, this backbencher from the Department of Justice, this Flecha, this guy was so ill-equipped. He actually told an appeals court that he appealed to that they did not have the power to review anything that the president does. That the 3 co-equal branches don't include the judiciary, completing their job as a check and balance on executive power. Now, there's some cases about Gitmo that would disagree, and there's also Obama's immigration case that was taken up by the Supreme Court, where they ruled, they were split, okay, about whether or not Obama's, executive order allowing Dreamers to stay. Okay, so, this is just ridiculous that he said to her, she said, are you saying I can't review, that the court has no role to play in the 3 co-equal branches of the government? And he said, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Are you arguing then that the president's decision in that regard is unreviewable?
Yes, there are obviously constitutional limitations, but we're discussing the risk assessment.
Okay, idiot boy. You never tell a judge that they're worthless, useless, and your boss does too, quite frankly. I think this guy Flecker is going to be fined. I think this is what the result is because, of course, we said to you last night as we were leaving, check his Twitter, check Twitler's Twitter, and, of course, what did he do? See you in court. The security of our nation is at stake. In all terrorists, take note. He's not afraid to use the all caps key. Not afraid. But stupid boy doesn't understand. He was just in court. See you in court. They just saw you in court. And you lost. Big league. Very bad decision. Very bad. Disaster. Terrible. Terrible. Loser. He thinks his decisions are unreviewable. No, Donald, you're getting reviewed. And the reviews are bad. Sad. Just like very bad, disaster, sad, should have closed the play by now. So everybody is learning a lesson in how the courts operate now, except for Donald Trump. He's just being schooled. He's not learning anything. He's not figuring this out, that the executive branch is just one of three co-equal branches of government. So idiot Trump, he's, I don't know. I mean, he's so used to suing people. Maybe he thinks he can threaten an appellate court with legal action. See you in court. Maybe he'll settle with them. I don't know. Maybe he'll do that. And if he loses in the Supreme Court, I'm sure he'll threaten to sue them too. See you in court. I mean, this is just, he's nuts, okay? He really is nuts. So, look, going to court did not work for him. The next step in the Trump playbook is for him to either settle or declare bankruptcy, right? I mean, these are the two things he knows how to do. Where's your businessman now, see? Yeah, it's unbelievable. So they're looking at the executive order and they're looking at everything he said about a Muslim ban. They're looking at Rudy Giuliani's mouth on the TV. Oh my God. It's so embarrassing. It really is. And so, and by the way, this morning he sent out, he tweeted out a link to a legal article that he said criticized the decision as being bad. And of course, the author of the article immediately responded that Trump is full of crap. And that maybe he, should relinquish his control of the all caps key. The lawyer wrote the article tweeted, quote, "You decide whether POTUS is quoting me in context. Here's the article. For the record, I support the decision." And that's as close as Trump will get to a legal supporter here. Loser. Oh, did you know that if you hashtag loser, that it's mostly porn? Did you know that? And at first I was going to delete the tweet because I did not realize that hashtag would lead to big porn, like S&M stuff, like you're a little loser and I have to punish you kind of stuff. And then I thought, no, this is good. This is good. He should see this. Maybe it'll take up some of his time and, he'll stop tweeting in all caps. Maybe he'll tip out a girl. Maybe he will. So, I left it. I left it. And then, of course, we had Jason Chavitz's town hall meetings last night. It's not just him. There were other town hall meetings. There was one in Tennessee. I mean, everybody is doing it. Everybody is showing up at these town hall meetings and they are chanting, "Do your job, do your job, do your job." And Chaffetz was trying to show them that, I'm kind of neutral. Yeah, Jason Chaffetz, who hunted Hillary like a dog with rabies. I mean, she got in his jaws of life and he wouldn't let go. And, there was no there, but, that's what Congress did for quite some time, like a whole year. And why'd they do it? They did it so that they would be able to say, this will be the first president who's under investigation by the FBI. This is the first nominee. And you'll have nothing but court cases if you elect her. Yeah. Well, so Chaffetz at his town hall meeting last night, which did not go very well, started saying, but I sent a letter saying Kellyanne Conway is acting like she's on, Evine. I sent a letter saying that she should stop, hacking Ivanka's stuff. I did. I sent that letter. And I also inquired about the lease on the old postal service. Listen much, Jason? You know what his handle is? Jason in the House on Twitter. He's at Jason in the House. How hip. What a hipster Jason Chaffetz is. But this was quite a town hall.
Today, I sent 2 letters.
You sent 2
that you may not have had time to hear about.
Oh.
When Kellyanne Conway said what she said about buying that particular product, that was wrong.
Doesn't he look like the bar mitzvah boy right there? Doesn't he? So Trump looks like an MC most of the time, and Chavez looks like, and I know I don't say his name right, it's Chaffetz, but Chavez says, he says, look at him. He looks like, I don't know, he looks like sort of a lounge singer, kind of bar mitzvah,
little Eddie Fisher there.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's very Eddie Fisher. That's a good observation. Yeah, I'm trying to place the face. Yeah, it's very Eddie Fisher. Maybe CNN can interrupt news programming tomorrow night and do the history of Eddie Fisher. And then bleep out everything he ever said about Debbie Reynolds when he left her for Liz. Maybe he could do that.
Called it out. I called Elijah Cummings, who's the ranking member on my committee.
Look at those signs. Disagree.
We jointly, as the chairman, myself, the ranking member, Mr. Cummings, and we sent a very candid, very direct letter to the White House and to the Office of Government Ethics. They need to investigate it. What Kellyanne Conway was wrong, it should never happen again, and there should be some accountability there. Absolutely. The other thing that I did...
It's just so Eddie Fisher. You're right. Oh, my God.
...is the GSA, which administers the... Hold on. The GSA, which administers contracts.
Okay, this is
There
important.
is a contract there in Washington, D.C., of a hotel. It was the old post office building.
Right.
And I have asked, back in December, I asked for a copy of that contract. Then it took time to get the unredacted version of that contract. And there was a letter that went out today to the GSA getting their opinion. What did they think of this contract? Where you have somebody who is both the tenant and the landlord, that does raise some eyebrows and some questions. And that's
that's a very oversimplified version of what the conflict of interest is here. And it's not just a conflict of interest, it's a violation of the law. President's not above the law now, is he, everybody? Is he? No. This is more than a conflict of interest, meaning his business is getting in the way of his governing because, they believe he's above the law in that conflict way, right? The president is exempt from conflict laws, which Jason in the house right there, he's about to say this to this audience. However, the problem with the contract, the lease for that old postal building says somebody in government cannot hold that lease. So it's a little more than, sending a letter and getting an unredacted. The law says that a lessee of that building cannot be working in government. And this guy's more than not working in government. He's the president not working in government. So it's really very disturbing.
the appropriate thing to do. When we had an obvious problem this morning, when Kellyanne Conway made those comments,
this is his thing.
The first call that I made was to
Elijah Cummings.
In a very bipartisan way. Hold on. In a very bipartisan way, we addressed that issue. It took a few hours, and I want you to go home at some point and look at the letter that we sent. There is no case to be made that we went soft on the White House or we didn't have some vigorous oversight on this. Now, the other thing, most people, let me tell you something you're really not going to like. You want to hear this? Hold on. You're really not going to like this part. The president, under the law, is exempt from the conflict of interest laws. He's exempt.
Maybe. That's something for the court to decide, I think. But he's certainly not exempt from the law itself. And the law itself that governs contracts says that if the contract says that a person entering into this contract is not free to do so, then there's a violation of law because he signed it fraudulently. All right? And he's still operating under that contract that is not, it didn't grandfather him in. Okay? He can't have He can't be the landlord and the holder of the lease, number one. And number two, he's not entitled to that lease any longer. So what is he? Conflict of interest. He's saying the president's above the law and you're not even going to you know what, Chavez, sit down. We all, it's going to be bad for you. It is. People are going to hound you now until kingdom come, because this particular issue on the Postal Service is not a conflict of interest. It's a violation of the law. 27 after.
Clear for takeoff.
The Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.
Now that Trump's on his way to the White House, how long do you think it's going to take him and his Wall Street cronies to completely wreck our economy? This Trump administration is greedy, full of avarice, and awful, and the damage they're going to do to the economy will become legend. They are going to make the financial crisis of 2008 look like a pool party. And once again, working class Americans, you're going to get soaked. And that's why now more than ever, it's time to diversify your investment portfolio. Gold's low correlation with stocks and bonds can help you in times of uncertainty. Just call my friends at ITM Trading today, get a free gold kit, and learn why gold survives every government, every currency, and every economic crisis. Call ITM Trading at 1-888-OWN-GOLD for guidance from their precious metals experts. They've helped tens of thousands of people navigate this market, and they have the best reputation in this industry. So call 1-888-OWN-GOLD, 1-888-OWN-GOLD.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1973. That was the day the worst industrial disaster in Staten Island took place. Staten Island housed the world's largest liquefied natural gas storage tank. The Texas Eastern Transmission Corporation owned the tank and operated a pipeline system that stretched from Texas to the East Coast. The tank measured 272 feet across and was as tall as an 11-story building. When leaks were suspected, the company had the tank emptied and shut down. Workers had been repairing the torn mylar insulation in the tank's liner for months. But then, vapors released during the repair process ignited the lining. This created extreme temperature and caused the pressure to rise, which resulted in an explosion inside the tank. The entire 6-inch thick concrete dome covering the tank immediately crumbled and rained down on the workers inside. 40 workers and 3 safety inspectors were inside at the time. None of them survived. The explosion caused a massive crater. Smoke billowed out for over 5 hours. Investigations revealed that nitrogen, Freon 11, and oxygen, and not liquefied gas, fueled the explosion. The cause was never determined. Some 25 years later, the New York Planning Board began reevaluating a moratorium on liquefied natural gas facilities in place since 1978. They concluded that government regulations and industry operating practices now in place would prevent a replication of this accident. The fire involved combustible construction materials and a tank design that are now prohibited. Although the exact causes may never be known, it is certain that liquefied natural gas was not involved in the accident, and the surrounding areas outside the facilities were not exposed to risk.
For a commercial-free, on-demand, whenever, wherever listening experience, visit RandiRhodes.com for your personal premium podcast today.
You're saying it's a falsehood, and they're giving Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts to that.
This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe.
Oh my God.
All of these different things that are happening with registration, you take a look at those registration you're going to find, and we're going to do an investigation on it.
3 to 5 million illegal votes.
Well, we're going to find out, but it could very well be that much.
President Obama certainly had a ban on the Iraqi refugee program for 6 months, which is double the time that's contemplated under President Trump's executive order.
False. It was more background checks.
After 2 Iraqis came here to this country, were radicalized, and they were the masterminds behind the Bowling Green massacre. I mean, most people don't know that because it didn't get covered.
It didn't get covered because it didn't happen. Thank you, Rolling Stone. It's unbelievable. I mean, we're in an alternate universe here. We truly are. We're in just an alternate universe where you have an administration that is incapable, and of telling the truth, and no one trusts it. No one trusts it. Oh, and today Betsy DeVos tried to enter a public school in Washington D.C., right down the street from the Department of Education, and they wouldn't let her in. The teachers all came out and they had signs, and the signs said things like, Betsy DeVos does not play well with others and she should be held back. And they said, welcome to our public school. It's not open to you. They had support all students. And, I would have had a sign that said, please go buy pencils. The thing with her is she said she got to work and she couldn't find pencils. And so people who teach public school teachers, have been tweeting her back saying, that's because we have to buy our own pencils, Betsy. Joy Reid tweeted, maybe it's in the drawer with the gun for the Grizzlies. All right. Shandy in Seattle. Hi, how are you? Happy Friday.
Well, happy Friday to you. Happy Friday to you, Randy. It's a privilege to talk to you.
Yes, it is. I know. I understand.
Hey, do you want to know what I was thinking about? The postcard thing for March?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've been thinking about ways to do that. And I have to say that one thing I agree with President Trump about is that it is the president's responsibility to keep us safe, right?
Right.
So what I want to do, I've made a list of all the things I want to be safe from.
Okay.
And so what I thought then when this postcard thing came up, I thought, well, I'll just send postcards and say, on each one, say, protect me from, and then, poison in my water.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Protect me from air that causes my asthma. Protect me from violence against women. I have a long list.
I like that.
It's growing every day.
That's really, I like that a lot. And somebody, a bunch of people actually were emailing me last night saying that you should put it on a pink postcard that looks like a pink slip. You know what I mean?
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect. And then I can tell you, too, you can make that pink postcard from your own paper.
Yeah.
Because I checked with the the post office this morning, and it's pretty lax. You don't have to use special paper or cardboard or anything.
Okay.
And just make it 4.5 by 6, and put your 24-cent stamp on it.
Okay. Cool.
And I have another idea about the no purchase day or the don't buy anything day.
Yes, F-17, hashtag F-17. Yes, National Strike Day.
Okay, well, just to put another twist on it, if you had to have something for that day that you didn't want to go out and buy, you could buy it early, but also buy it locally so that you could shift that purchase instead of just delaying it. For the next day when you go out and buy what you need, just, go to your local hardware store or to your farmer's market the days before.
Yeah, days before. Absolutely.
And just buy locally.
Yeah, no, you don't buy anything. The idea that we can't go a day without buying stuff is very bizarre to me. I mean, how is that possible that we couldn't go one whole day without buying things?
It is kind of mind-boggling.
It's mind-boggling. All right, so yes, prepare. Go ahead. I mean, just clear the shelves of toilet paper and water as if some national, disaster is going to happen because we can't buy anything the next day. I mean, come on. It's like, just pretend it's Christmas Day and everything is closed.
I know, and it's just something kind of nice about having to go out and buy something during the day. I mean... I like a day like that.
Okay, no. Then, this is like Howard. He has to run errands every day. Every day he likes to have an errand or 6 errands. He likes to go from this pizza place to that Chinese restaurant and then, mix and match his meals. And stop it. Just one day, don't buy anything. Nothing. Unless you want to buy a stinking podcast, and then we won't tell.
I bought mine. I got it. I love it.
There you go.
I love you guys.
All right, thank you. I can't. Well, can't I just run an errand and buy something locally? No, buy nothing on February 17th. And if you don't have to go to work, don't go to work on February 17th. That is our economic power that we're trying to use. We're trying to show, that we are, that there are more of us than there are of them. We're trying to show them that, we are a consumer-driven economy, and you can't piss off all of us consumers and get away with it. This is a way to show that we are truly the power center in this country, because money, money is that's what the world goes around on. So that's why we're doing this. Johnny in San Marcos, Texas.
Yeah, Randy.
Hi.
First time call, listening for 10, 12 years already.
Hi.
Thank you. Well, I have a theory. I don't know if it works or not, but when people, they talk about Democrats being so weak or spineless or whatever, the way I've seen it for years now is you go back to the Reagan days when people were light Republicans, smart Republicans, and they got mad at their party. What they do, they left and they came to the Democratic Party. Well, that's continued since, and all we've done is shift to the right.
But that never happened.
Oh, yeah. There's been a lot of Republicans that shifted over to the Democratic Party.
No, the Democrats went to the Republican Party. They were called Reagan Democrats.
Oh, no. I'm talking about after they realized what damage they did to the party. Not to the party, but to country.
No, here's what actually happened. Here's what happened. After Ronald Reagan and after Herbert Walker Bush and his little war and the first Gulf War and all this stuff, people got disgusted, but not disgusted enough to go back to the Democratic Party. So Bill Clinton moved the Democratic Party to the right.
Quite true.
That's what happened. And they called it triangulation. Yeah. He moved to the right. Okay.
Right.
And so Democrats were left kind of with either you voted, for a Republican corporatist like Ronald Reagan, who fired all these air traffic controllers in order to make a statement that unions, we're going after the unions. We hate unions because they keep wages high and we want wages low. And so Clinton went around the country and moved this country to the right and deregulated things like my business, media.
Yes, exactly.
So where there were 100,000 jobs and 10,000 owners. Now there's 3 owners and there's 5 jobs and everything's voice tracked and nobody can work in their chosen profession unless they have an entrepreneurial spirit like I do, and they go out and start their own thing. But that's what happened. They started this thing called the Democratic Leadership Conference, the Council, the DLC, and it was kissing corporate ass. And so Democrats were left basically without a party. And that's why Bernie was so popular.
Right. And I'm 100% Bernie. I pushed him hard. But that's why I think they'll never overturn Citizens United, because, one, they know that if they do, they have nothing to fight with. Two, they like the money. Flat out, they like the money. I mean,
well, I tried to explain this to you yesterday. Very quietly, Congress and the Senate, they voted to do away with all public financing of presidential campaigns. Right. Okay.
Right.
So, they're cutting out the public. And so, you know what that was? That was, remember on your tax return, there was a little box that asked you. Asked you if you wanted to do $3 for public financing of elections, of campaigns, and it didn't matter if you checked it or not. There was no penalty to you, right? And all that. Well, that won't be there anymore because they did away with all public financing.
Right.
Yeah. That's what they are. It's what they want, and that means that all campaigns will be run by the uber elite. It'll be run by the moneyed interest. It'll be run by people who can afford it. Right now, what I'm watching on TV? Not right this second, but in my market, I don't know if everybody else has this. I am literally watching commercials for Gorsuch. Have you seen? Have you seen a commercial? Saying I used to work in the Obama administration, and I was also, somebody who clerked for Neil Gorsuch, and you could trust him. You can.
We're even getting the Coke commercial.
Are we campaigning now for Supreme Court justices? Really? This is where we're at?
We're getting the Koch brother commercials where they're telling you how sweet and charming they are and how many jobs they're bringing in, and I'm like,
yeah, I understand that, but I'm talking about something really disgraceful, something really disgusting, something we've never seen before, and that's an ad campaign for a Supreme Court justice, for a confirmation hearing. I mean, this is unbelievable. Well, they should run a commercial going, hey, Clarence Thomas, he promises never to ask a question. Where were those commercials? Never saw those. All of a sudden, I'm seeing Gorsuch commercials. That's, it's got some girl. She doesn't say where she worked in the Obama administration. She doesn't say what she did. But there's a woman sitting there, and she's praising Gorsuch as a very mild-mannered, middle-of-the-road, kind of wishy-washy, partisan guy who's always fair, blah, blah, blah. And then she goes, oh, and I worked in the Obama administration. You can trust Gorsuch. What the hell? No, I can't if he's allowing these commercials to be run. No, I can't if he's taking a stolen seat to begin with from Merrick Garland. No, I can't if yesterday he kowtowed to the Trump bullying, because there was that whole big thing yesterday about all these senators, Senator Schumer, Senator Blumenthal, Senator Ben Sasse, a Republican from Nebraska, all said that sitting in their offices, Gorsuch said that it was very demoralizing and it was upsetting that Trump was denigrating his brothers in robes, which, you shouldn't use those words, when Jeff Sessions is your attorney general. But, and then they asked him, the senators asked him, can we go to the public with this? Can we quote you? Can we say, and he goes, yes, I want it out there. Well, we all knew that it was a strategy to endear himself to Democrats, right? To make him look nonpartisan, to make him look independent. But Idiot Boy Trump's own White House, came up with this strategy, and Idiot Boy couldn't take any criticism whatsoever. And so he started bullying Gorsuch to take it back, and to tell the press that what he said that he wanted quoted was misrepresented. And guess what Gorsuch does? The lily-livered little, mealy-mouthed Trumpian puppet says, "Oh no, I didn't mean it. It wasn't. What I said wasn't related to anything Trump said." But all these three senators said that as soon as they asked him about Trump's tweeting, so-called judges, and all his tweeting about that, he said it was demoralizing and disheartening. In direct response to that, so I don't trust Gorsuch. You can't trust Gorsuch. It's ridiculous. And now the TV commercials are on the TV telling me I could trust, as if I have a vote. Why are they, you know what that's like? It's like all this medication, It's like, you have IBS, you need Tolts. You need Tolt. Why are they trying to sell me this stuff? What is this? And this is what drives the price of pharmaceuticals up too. And this is what drives the price of government up too. All of this advertising. That's where all the money goes. That's where all the money gets spent. I bet you if we revisited the rule that said that Big Pharma can't advertise pharmaceuticals, you'd see the price of drugs come way, way down. Because I don't know if I need Viberzi or Tolts or Zeljan, or that insulin that stays fresh for 8 weeks without refrigeration. Where the woman is walking through the world and it's all white paper people. She can't fit in. She can't fit in. Why? Because she's always looking for the insulin and she needs a refrigerator all the time. Well, now she's got one that'll stay fresh in a Tupperware. She can bring it to work and just leave it on her desk. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's not as if we can go out and buy what are we doing? And if I went and asked my doctor about all these things that are being advertised to me, I swear to God, he'd charge me for 4 visits. That's how long it would take.
To speak to Randy, call now, you bastards. 561-270-3844.
Hello.
Randi Rhodes. Air Force.
You're listening to WIN, Workers Independent News, a diversified media enterprises production. I'm Doug Cunningham. Nearly 3,000 Boeing workers in South Carolina will get a chance to vote for union representation February 15th. The International Association of Machinists filed for the NLRB election in January. Industrial, a global union federation, is wishing the IAM well in the election. The IAM had scheduled an election in 2015 but withdrew before it happened in the face of an intense anti-union campaign from state politicians and others. This time there will be no withdrawal. The IAM says that Boeing is using a portion of their $1.63 billion fourth quarter profits to hire a union-busting law firm, so workers at the North Charleston plant are being hit with a barrage of anti-union television, radio, and social media ads. South Carolina has the lowest union membership rate in the U.S. Hundreds of fast food workers are expected at Hardee's St. Louis headquarters Monday, February 13th, to protest CKE fast food CEO Andy Puzder's nomination to be U.S. Labor Secretary. The Fight for 15 movement is vowing the most militant protest yet. They will also protest in 24 other cities on Monday, including what they expect to be a big protest at CKE headquarters in Anaheim, California. The protesting workers say that Puzder should never be Labor Secretary, since the business he runs is plagued by multiple ongoing violations of labor law. Nurses at Holy Cross Hospital in Silver Spring, Maryland will rally Monday to defend safe patient care and union organizing rights. The RNs say hospital management has been unwilling to address patient care concerns, particularly safe staffing. They say that the National Labor Relations Board has found merit in multiple charges filed on behalf of nurses against Holy Cross Hospital. Among the alleged violations of labor law are restraining and coercing its employees, spying on or creating the impression of spying on employees in their protected concerted activity, and interrogating employees about their union support. The RNs say that Holy Cross Hospital is putting profits before patients. Missouri this week became the 28th state to adopt an anti-union law banning majorities of workers in union workplaces from negotiating dues clauses in their contracts. The anti-union forces behind these laws call them right to work, but they are designed to financially undermine and weaken unions.
Sponsored by Ironworkers Impact, now reserving spots for this year's groundbreaking conference, welcoming contractors to grow their business by networking and attending world-class breakouts. More on this event in San Diego, happening March 19th through the 22nd, is found online at impact-net.org under Events. Workers Independent News is proud to be heard on The Union Edge, Labor's Talk Radio. Live nationwide weekdays, noon to 3 p.m. at theunionedge.com.
You've been listening to WIN, Workers Independent News. For more information, visit laborradio.org.
We did it, you bastards! We're live, and it only took 2 years! Okay. All right. So we're back, we're live, and you're there, and we're here, and ain't that great? Now let me just tell you that if you want to listen whenever and wherever you'd like to listen, just go to randyrhodes.com, click on podcasts and swag, and get your podcast commercial-free, on demand, on any device. randyrhodes.com. Open all day, every day.
The Randi Rhodes Air Force. The Randi Rhodes Show is live on randyrhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or progressivevoices.com now.
All right, Brian in Muncie, Pennsylvania.
Hey, Randy, how you doing?
How are you?
I'm well. I was just talking to Howard. I'm like, oh, my God, I got a call. The very same commercial that you're talking about, they ran up here because we were watching MSNBC last night, and I turned to my wife. I'm like, oh, my God, can you believe it? They're doing an advertisement for Gorsuch.
I know.
Commercial?
What is that supposed to do? I mean, why are they direct marketing a Supreme Court justice to us like they do, Zeljans? I don't even, he needs a disclaimer on that commercial too. It like may cause freedom leakage and not safe if you're pregnant or nursing. I mean, what is that? Why are they doing that? Why are we actually watching TV commercials, direct marketing of a Supreme Court justice? He ought to speak up and speak out and say, that is just not right. I don't want to, right? I mean, as if we have a vote, as if we have a say in it. Are you kidding me? What is that? I don't understand the drug commercials to begin with. And now they're selling us a Supreme Court justice. Oh, are you kidding me? Is everything for sale in this country?
It is.
Wow.
It blew me away. But I just had to let you know that it must be a nationwide thing.
Yeah, it is. It has to be if you're seeing it and I'm seeing it, because I'm in Florida, you're in Pennsylvania. So this is just disgusting, I got to say. But I'm glad you caught it, because most people, it just goes, woo, right over their head. Just, yeah, they don't get how ridiculous so many of these commercials are, and you know why they do it. Okay, here's the real reason, and it's very simple. If you are spending millions of dollars on MSNBC, CNN, whatever, on pharmaceutical ads, or a Supreme Court justice, it's going to be sort of off limits to trash this thing, like Big Pharma. It's going to be off limits to trash Gorsuch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Because then they'll say they have leverage. They say to the salesman who sold them the ad, "Hey, we'll pull our ads if you go too tough on on Big Pharma, or if you go too tough on the coal industry, because we're Coke and we're putting all these ads on." That's what it's about. This is about it's about chilling free speech through through advertising, through the economy. And that's why we can strike back through the economy as well, by not buying anything on one day, just to see what it does, just to show them.
Oh, absolutely. And we're going to plan on doing that as well. So
thank you.
Yeah.
What'd she say?
She said it's going to be hard, though.
Why? Why is it just... What is she? Is she a degenerate online shopper? Is that it?
No. She's actually very good. She's very good, but
I hear her. No, I'm good. Well, see, I will admit to you, I'm a degenerate online shopper. I buy so much stuff online all the time, and I'm just going to have to not log in. You know what I mean? I'm just going to have to stay away from the damn computer.
Now, see, we used to, we never used to, but now we're getting more and more where we're ending up the way society is. Happen to do that shopping
online.
Stuff online.
Yeah, because you know what? It's crazy. The stores don't even have half of what they have online. If you go to Kohl's or whatever, you're not going to find in Kohl's what Kohl's has online.
That's true.
I know.
That's true. We're finding that too.
Yeah, and I remember when this is completely off the beaten path, but when I needed a dress for Howard's son's wedding, I thought, all right, I'm going to spend a few bucks because it's Howard's son. It's a big damn deal. It's a big day, and I need a dress. And so I went to Nordstrom's, I went to Macy's, I went to all these places, Saks, and even more. They don't have any of those dresses that are online in the store. So you have to. One of the women at Nordstrom actually said this to me. She goes, "No, we're just here for your returns anymore." She said, you got to order like 5 of the dresses in different sizes. They come to your house, and then you bring them back here, or you send them back. That's all you do now, because we don't stock anything.
We had a similar situation a while back at Talbot's where it was exactly like you're explaining. We went there, and they didn't have the stuff on the store, and they say, "Well, you got to go." So I know exactly what you mean by that.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just so strange. But anyway, this is the economy we live in. So just don't buy anything on the 17th, and tell her, tell her to just it'll be so much more exciting, like withholding. Tell her she knows, like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All
right, thanks.
We love you, Randy.
Love you too. Thank you and your husband. Thanks, Brian.
Take care. Yep. Bye-bye.
Thanks for calling. Sue in Chicago. Hi.
Hi. My birthday is February 17th, and I'm not going to buy anything. So,
well,
I hope
shouldn't people be buying for you, and shouldn't it already be purchased by February 17th?
It should be my husband, but I don't know.
Well,
he usually thinks about me about a day before.
My birthday was what, like a Saturday ago or something like this. Still waiting.
Well, my husband and I love you, love your show. As a matter of fact, I think half the time Rick loves you more than he loves me. So.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But anyway,
well, just tell him I don't put out either. So
Oh, okay. After 26 years, I don't think we're
really. I know.
Yeah.
What should I do for the best 13 seconds of my week? Really? All that preparation, and then a Cialis over there, and then a few drinks over here. Really, for what? For the best 13 seconds of my life?
Exactly.
Much too much work. Much too much.
Well, I have an idea, but I can't fulfill it because I'm hoping all blacks and Muslim men and women in the United States go to a gun store or a gun show, either on the same day or the same week, and freak all those white Second Amendment people out.
Oh, that's so good.
And I just...
That's so good.
I just don't have, any way to get to reach everybody in the United States that are black and Muslim.
But you just did. You just did.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a great idea. Hey, all of my African Americans, look, my African American. All the people that listen to me are people of color. I don't care if you're Hispanic. I don't know if you're just not as pasty white as perhaps I am. Go to a gun show. Oh, what a good idea. It's a twofer, actually, because if Muslims and African Americans and Latinos start buying, AKs, we'll get some gun restrictions. We'll get some, yeah, it's good. It's good. I like it.
Okay, good. Well, have a nice day, and thanks again for everything you do.
Thanks. Have a great weekend.
Okay.
Great idea. Love my audience. It's a false flag. Oh God, I know. What's killing me is I really do feel something is going to happen because he keeps tweeting about how this is all about national security, and because now they're telling us that Bannon, Bannon and this Michael Anton guy, who I just started learning about yesterday, who all love war and think that Christian identity is under attack. If they saw African Americans and Latinos and Muslims, especially Muslims, and even if you're not an observant Muslim, and even if you're not a Muslim, I would suggest that you do a hijab and and go to a gun show and just go ahead and purchase as much as you can afford. You know what I mean? Just stock up. It would be so great. All right, Nicholas in Mexico. Oh, hi, Nicholas. How are you?
I'm good. I promise not to go chronic and remember, but I have a great idea.
All right.
And you're connected. A friend of mine and I were talking last night, right?
Yeah.
About the need for free speech TV, free speech radio, people like you, Randy, because you're our hope. So she said, do people in America, you're going to think this is crazy, but I did not. Tell me. She said, do people in America believe in voodoo dolls? I said, well, I think a lot of people think they're kind of fun and, maybe they work. Who knows? She said, I think somebody needs to manufacture a line of a cabinet of deplorable voodoo dolls.
Oh, wow.
With Trump at the head. And the pins, she said, should be, a pin for freedom of speech, zap. LGBT rights, zap. Freedom of press, zap. Women's rights, all the things where net neutrality. Pin for each of these things to stick in these dolls.
Yeah.
Jeff Sessions. The whole, you go down the list,
Civil
right?
liberties. Yeah. Oh,
right? Now, you're connected. Listen, I'm
what
not.
am I
I'm way down
connected?
here in
What do you mean
Mexico.
I'm connected? What am I, mobbed up or something over here?
Oh, stop. If only, Trump is, we don't know. We don't know. But you know a lot of people.
I know a girl who makes the scariest looking dolls. They're kind of like,
here we go.
Tim Burton looking, Nightmare
Well, here we
Before.
go. This is, we're there already. You're there. You're there.
Yeah.
Listen, everybody needs money. You could use money to keep on the air. Everybody needs money, right? Remember the Cabbage Patch dolls?
Yeah.
Remember how many frickin' millions of dollars they reaped in?
It's a great idea. I'll pass it along.
Think about it.
I will. Wow, people really hate him.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randy, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844.
Happy Valentine's Day. What are you going to get her? You want to give her something really, really different, something really big protein, big flavor, big packs, little carbs. Herky jerky, baby. I love herky jerky, and I don't know anybody who's watching their carbs that doesn't love herky jerky. It is the most delicious, favorite jerky that I've ever had. And you can't get the best stuff just anywhere. Herky jerky is beef, elk, venison, bacon, slabs, and sticks. The most amazing thing you've ever had. And now, $5 off any purchase of $30 or more with promo code Valentine. Just for Valentine's Day. The bacon, it's a slab. You can put it on BLTs, use it in salads, munch right out of the bag. I've shopped for jerky everywhere, and I have to tell you, if you give her herky jerky by going to herkyjerky.com and taking $5 off your $30 or more purchase, she will say, oh my God, that's what Randy loves. herkyjerky.com, promo code Valentine.
Now, the top of the hour on the Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn presents the Green News Report.
And we're going to keep pushing forward. We're going to keep fighting this thing. It's not over until it's over.
Standing Rock Sioux Tribe vows to keep fighting against Dakota Access Pipeline.
It doesn't help the United States if it leaks, right? It doesn't help the people who live downstream.
I'm not going to win that argument with you because pipelines do leak.
New study finds owners of the pipeline reported 69 spills in the last 2 years. Air pollution linked to increased risk of dementia. More Americans now work in solar jobs than coal jobs. Plus, Sweden votes to go zero emissions by 2050.
Hope that's soon enough. All of those stories and more straight ahead. From BradBlog.com, I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for 6 minutes of independent green news, politics, analysis, and snarky comment.
So it's not safe. It's just safe enough for the Native Americans. No, it's not a race thing. It's that if the pipe leaks, there's fewer of them than of us. And why are there fewer of them?
Yep. This is your Green News Report. Okay, Desi Doyen, things are not looking good up in North Dakota.
Nope, there is bad news for the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, under the direction of the Trump administration, this week suddenly reversed course and granted the final easement needed for completion of the controversial Dakota Access Pipeline, allowing it to cross under the Missouri River near the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe Reservation in North Dakota, an easement that the Corps had previously denied under the Obama administration. The reversal halts a pending environmental impact assessment and further consultation with the tribe, which has fought the pipeline for years with massive protests and in the courts because it threatens their sacred sites and their water supply. Remember, the pipeline had originally been routed away from the majority white city of Bismarck for that exact reason. In an interview with Democracy Now!, Tribal Chairman David Archambault vowed to challenge the decision in court.
Our treaty rights are violated. Our human rights are violated. Federal laws are being violated. But we need to get that out there. We need to be heard by decision makers. And it seems like the process is trying to expedite and facilitate something that's unlawful.
The tribe has vowed to challenge the decision in court on the grounds that the environmental impact statement was wrongfully terminated. The pipeline company says construction will start immediately.
Of course it will, because to hell with the rule of law, to hell with those Native Americans. They don't deserve clean water and sacred grounds.
Protests in solidarity are again erupting against the pipeline around the country, including at local offices of banks that are invested in the pipeline. In the wake of the Army Corps decision this week, the City Council of Seattle voted unanimously to divest more than $3 billion held with Wells Fargo, becoming the first major city in the country to sever ties with a bank because of its investment in the Dakota Access Pipeline.
Go get 'em, Seattle.
And they were followed shortly thereafter by Davis, California.
Nice going, Davis.
And inspired by the Women's March, the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe and tribes across the country are now teaming up and inviting allies across the country to join them at the Native Nations March. That's on March 10th in Washington, D.C., and held with satellite marches around the world.
A lot of marching lately. Going to be a boon for the shoe industry.
And now a new study released this week backs up the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe's concerns over the pipeline. An analysis of federal and state records done by the Louisiana Bucket Brigade, a state-based environmental justice group, found that the company that owns the Dakota Access Pipeline, Energy Transfer Partners, has reported 69 spills over just the last 2 years and polluted rivers in 4 states. Again, that's 69 pipeline spills in just 2 years.
What could possibly go wrong?
Meanwhile, another impact of fossil fuels, Alzheimer's disease. A new study links long-term exposure to vehicle exhaust and other sources of fine particle air pollution and finds that long-term exposure nearly doubles the risk of developing dementia, particularly in older women.
Anybody check the air quality outside of Trump Tower lately?
That's on top of the healthcare costs that are caused by air pollution for asthma, lung disease, and heart disease. But some good news, the solar industry in the United States added 51 41,000 jobs over the last year, according to a solar industry group. That means there are now twice as many Americans working in the solar industry than are working in the coal industry. Solar now accounts for 1 of every 50 new jobs in the United States.
Don't tell Donald Trump.
And China is moving even faster. In 2016, China doubled its total solar capacity in just 1 year. And finally, Sweden has passed legislation binding all future administrations to reach net zero emissions nationwide by 2045. That's a law to ramp down fossil fuels and ramp up renewables to zero emissions by 2045, and no future administration can overturn it.
Finally, some good news. A shame we have to go all the way to Sweden to get any. For much more on all of those reports and the ones we couldn't get to, please check out our website at greennews.bradblog.com. Don't forget, you can download our reports anytime via Stitcher, TuneIn, or iTunes. Find us, follow us, and share us on the Facebooks and the Twitters at Green News Report. I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
And this has been your Green News Report.
This has been the Green News Report on the top of the hour on the Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn.
The Randi Rhodes Show is brought to you by our partners at ITM Trading. Call them at 1-888-OWN-GOLD and ask for a free gold kit. 1-888-OWN-GOLD.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
We now know that the Trump's national security advisor, Mike Flynn, had several conversations with the Russian ambassador, Kislyak, just at the time that President Obama was announcing new sanctions for the hacking of the U.S. election against Russia. Number one, did Mike Flynn ever discuss lifting sanctions in any of those conversations? Do you know?
I talked to General Flynn yesterday. And the conversations that took place at that time were not in any way related to new U.S. sanctions against Russia or the expulsion of diplomats.
All right. Second question. Can you flatly deny, because this continues to be out there, that there were any contacts at any point during the campaign between Mr. Trump's associates and Russian operatives, including cutouts, as we know, about the hacking of the Democrats during the election?
Well, some of this derives from this opposition research memo, I guess, Chris, that made its way around the internet. I remember there was about 24 hours where Michael Cohen, who has worked in the Trump organization for many years, was accused of having a meeting in Prague, and finally some news organization did a little checking and found out that it was a different Michael Cohen, and Michael himself had never actually been to Prague.
But I do want to ask you a question.
Was at a baseball game with his son in August of last year.
I understand that, but there's been other talk, and in fact, if I may, the senators specifically asked FBI Director Comey about that, and he refused to answer. So I'm asking you a direct question. Was there any contact in any way between Trump or his associates and the Kremlin or cutouts they had?
I joined this campaign in the summer, and I can tell you that all the contact by the Trump campaign and associates was with the American people. We were fully engaged with taking his message to make America great again all across this country.
But have you ever asked
why
Mr.
he won
Trump
in a
whether there were any
election.
contacts, sir? I'm just trying to get an answer.
Yeah, of course not. Why would there be any contacts between the campaign? Chris, this is all a distraction, and it's all a part of a narrative.
Okay. Mike Pence, Fox News. No, there were no communications between Michael Flynn, General Flynn, the National Security Advisor, to now President before the election. Turns out there were. In fact, I got this old article. I got all these papers, and I saved my papers. He watches the shows. I read the papers. And on January 13th, the Reuters, which is, the most amazing news group in the world, Reuters, McClatchy, these are really great organizations. On January 13th, Reuters found people inside the Trump organization at the time. Okay, well, no, they were the Trump administration on January 17th, but there were 9 people who spoke on condition of anonymity within the Trump administration that said, yeah, Michael Flynn did talk to Russia 5 different times. Okay, and so on January 13th, we only had that amount of information. We had that there were 5 phone calls between Flynn and this Kislyak guy in Russia. And they were denying that. What was interesting was the day that he had all these communications was December 29th, I believe. That was the day that Barack Obama ordered the expulsion of 35 Russian diplomats who Obama suspected of being spies as retaliation for Russia's hacking into the Democratic National Committee, the Republican National Committee, and our voter rolls. Okay, that's what really got hacked. So anyway, Obama kicked 35 diplomats out and put, different sanctions on Russia and so all of a sudden Flynn gets on the phone and he starts talking to Russia about, how are you and how's your funky yellow toe going? Because, here in America, they got Humira if you have that, and of course it may cause, anal leakage. But I can send you some. This is what he said. He was talking, he's talking nothing big. Turns out today or last night, the Washington Post, Greg Miller, the reporter for the Washington Post, actually posts his vetted fact-checked article that says that National Security Advisor Michael Flynn did privately discuss U.S. sanctions against Russia with Kislyak, the ambassador to Russia, during the month before President Trump took office. So that was December 29th. And that's contrary to what Mike Pence told Chris Wallace there on the Fox, contrary to what Michael Flynn said twice. No, he was asked, did you talk to, he said, no, I never talked sanctions. Turns out we have some spies here. Turns out we have a law enforcement agency and we have an intelligence community that is tasked with wiretapping foreign nationals from Russia and any phone calls that they might have with our government. And now they've listened to those phone calls and they said, yeah, they were talking about sanctions. That's, it is true that that's what they were doing. And of course, now, Mike Pence is, has been contradicted and shown to be a liar and it says there was a series of calls and they began before the November 8th election and they continued during the transition. And Kislyak confirmed that he had communicated with Flynn by text message, by phone, and in person in that period of time. This came from 9 current and former officials in senior positions at multiple agencies at the time of the calls, who all spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss intelligence matters. And all of those officials said, all of them said, Flynn's references to the election-related sanctions were explicit. 2 of those 9 officials went further. They said Flynn urged Russia not to overreact to the penalties being imposed by Obama, making it clear to the Russians that the matter of sanctions would be reviewed after Trump was sworn in as president. Kislyak was left with the impression that the sanctions would be revisited at a later time, said one former official. A third official put it more bluntly. How much more blunt can you get than that? He said either Flynn misled Pence or that Pence misspoke. Oh, man. Talk about parsing. An administration official stressed that Pence made his comments based on a conversation with Flynn. So either Flynn lied to Pence or Pence said, don't worry, I got this. But the sanctions were explicitly discussed. Now, there is this old law, you hear us talk about the Logan Act. Logan Act's never been prosecuted. There's no previous case that was ever brought by virtue of the Logan Act, because the Logan Act was adopted in 1799. Just so you know. But that makes it fresh, doesn't it? And I think it makes it ripe, as they say in law, because there's no precedent. So it's up to the courts to say what the Logan Act is. Now, that could go either way, depending on who's at the Supreme Court. That's why Gorsuch is advertising on the TV. You could trust him. But they also tell me that Viberzi is going to help with IBS and it will help with my stomach pain, but the side effect is stomach pain. So the law's not settled and neither is my stomach. Okay, so that was breaking news last night. And Twitler, remember when Flynn said that he had never, spoken about, the sanctions and all this stuff, and all of a sudden, Putin gets the sanctions go in, and Putin doesn't retaliate against the United States for these sanctions. You remember Twitler tweeted, "Great move, smart man Putin. Great move on the delay." No, he wrote. Here's the tweet Twitler said. "Great move on the delay. I always knew he was very smart." Now, how did he know what was going on inside the Kremlin if he wasn't talking to the Kremlin? Which was what my explanation was at the time. But now, of course, we go through the law enforcement, it's the FBI and our intelligence communities who do have the tapes of the conversations and said, yes, he explicitly discussed sanctions in violation of a law that we've never prosecuted anybody under because nobody ever did it before, that says that, there's only one president at a time. And if you're, a civilian, you can't talk to a foreign government about, about American foreign policy. So, this is where we're at. Now, Sean Spicer said on January 13th at one of his little briefings, he said that Flynn had reached out to the Russian ambassador on Christmas Day to extend holiday greetings. Remember that? On December 28th, as word of the Obama sanctions spread, Kislyak sent a message to Flynn requesting a call, and Flynn took that call, Spicer said, saying it was centered on the logistics of setting up a call with the president of Russia and Trump after the election. The officials that spoke to the Washington Post last night, they said, "I can tell you that during this call," a transition official said, "I can tell you during this call, sanctions were not discussed whatsoever." A senior transition official told the Washington Post at the time. When Pence faced questions on television, which I just played you that weekend, he said those conversations that happened to occur around that time, that the United States took action to expel diplomats, had nothing whatever to do with the sanctions. And now, of course, we find out through current and former U.S. officials that what Pence just said right there is not true. Now, that was a good story last night. It was a very good story, and I tweeted it. I love when you retweet my tweets. It makes me feel loved, popular. You know what I mean? It's like that Black Mirror episode where she can't rent an apartment because she doesn't have enough likes on Facebook. That's the new credit. Screw your Experian, credit card score. Screw FICO. Now it's about how many likes you have. Just very sick. But anyway, people retweeted that last night because they were very fascinated by this. But I must tell you that today something else happened that ties into the story, which is why I needed a lot of time with this, because this is in addition, this is an addendum, this is an and also. Here, CNN is now reporting that U.S. investigators corroborate some of the aspects of the Russian dossier. You remember the Russian dossier that was created by the MI6 guy, Chris Steele, who is now in hiding somewhere? Remember it had the, what should we call it? Salacious, salacious exploits of Donald Trump on a bed where Barack Obama and Michelle Obama had also spent a night in Russia at a certain hotel in Russia. And Donald Trump sort of hired some people who had, irritable bladder syndrome or whatever. Don't get the mesh. Don't get the mesh. I hear that's bad. There's a pill for that now, too. But yeah, so you remember that story? Well, that's not what they corroborated. It looks like the newly learned information relates not to the salacious allegations in the dossier, but it relates to the conversations between the Russians, dozens of conversations between senior Russian officials and other Russian individuals that were identified in this dossier that Chris Steele, made. And remember, Chris Steele sent it to the FBI when he started to learn what he was learning. It was an opposition research memo. That's what Pence just remember. And the Republicans had hired his company, Orbis, Chris Steele's company, Orbis, to do opposition research on Donald Trump. The Republicans had done that. And then when Donald Trump became the nominee, they were going to walk away from the contract. And the Democrats said, no, keep going, we'll pay you. And so he created this dossier, and he decided, Chris Steele did, after he found out that the Russian officials were hacking us and the Russian officials were plotting and the Russian officials were doing things because they favored Donald Trump in America in our elections. He decided to hand that dossier over to the FBI, remember? Now, CNN never reported the salacious details, only BuzzFeed did. And, of course, I read all 29 pages because it was just like, oh, my God, the visual, I will never get out of my head. Trump owes me right there. He owes me a complete cruise around the world or a vacation at, some fabulous, just because he's poisoned my mind with the image of him and girls on a bed. Oh, in a bathrobe, no less, with tube socks. Oh. Anyway, they have investigated the dossier, and they said that the intercepts that they have do confirm that the conversations described in the dossier took place between the same individuals Chris Steele identified, on the same day Chris Steele said they happened, and at the same location that he detailed in his dossier. So far, this dossier is holding up. So far, this dossier is being proven true by our law enforcement and intel communities, who now have also said that Flynn did explicitly talk before Trump was sworn in about sanctions to the Russian ambassador, meaning the Russian who comes to the United States, right? About these sanctions that Obama put on. You have so much law breaking going on here. It's just, wow, this is going to be precedent setting in this way. Logan Act's never been prosecuted before. And we've never had a case where the Russians have tried to influence an American election, and that it's all being corroborated. Everything that was laid out for us in this dossier that they also, it was some opposition. Meanwhile, check out what Sean Spicer's reaction to this reporting is. And this is all good reporting. And it's not all coming from one place, obviously. It's coming from our intel community. It's coming from law enforcement. It's coming from 9 specific individuals within those agencies, 2 being extremely clear and 1 being even more explicit than those 2, right? And so Sean Spicer was asked today about this, and he said, quote, "We continue to be disgusted by CNN's fake news reporting." But it's not CNN's fake news reporting. It's your own intelligence community. It's your own law enforcement community. It's a dossier that was created by a guy the Republicans paid to create it. And it's all now being checked out, and it's all actually being corroborated as he had the right people, he had the right locations, he had the right conversations, he had the right words, the verbiage was actually recorded because we do spy on Russians. So why is he attacking poor CNN? All they want to do is run the history of comedy at 10 o'clock and make fun of Andrew Dice Clay for crying. I busted my ass. Oh! Listen, I loved those years. Those were the best comedy years ever. But, when all this is happening, you would expect that Don Lemon would sit his ass in the chair. Come on, Don, sit your bony 50-something-year-old ass in the chair. I say that lovingly. I'm your super fan. I watch you every single night. I missed you last night. It was not the same without you. I almost had to give in. News isn't on. News isn't on. I'll find some damn news. I'll find some news. You watch this. Channel 42. News. Well, opinion. Yeah, so all this stuff is now being investigated, corroborated. It's all true.
All things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randi Rhodes Show.
Now that Trump's on his way to the White House, how long do you think it's going to take him and his Wall Street cronies to completely wreck our economy? This Trump administration is greedy, full of avarice, and awful, and the damage they're going to do to the economy will become legend. They are going to make the financial crisis of 2008 look like a pool party. And once again, working class Americans, you're going to get soaked. And that's why now more than ever, it's time to diversify your investment portfolio. Gold's low correlation with stocks and bonds can help you in times of uncertainty. Just call my friends at ITM Trading today, get a free gold kit, and learn why gold survives every government, every currency, and every economic crisis. Call ITM Trading at 1-888-OWN-GOLD for guidance from their precious metals experts. They've helped tens of thousands of people navigate this market, and they have the best reputation in this industry. So call 1-888-OWN-GOLD, 1-888-OWN-GOLD.
Tales of American Political History with Clinton Porter Hackney.
We've been talking about the women now all known as Rosie the Riveter and their contributions in World War II. The debate can go on whether Rosie the Riveter set the stage for the women's movement or not. But there's something that matters more. More important is that just like their male counterparts, millions of American women dropped what they were doing and proved what they could do when needed. And what matters most is not the Rosie the Riveter label, but the real women, like Frances Carter, who worked as a riveter in an Alabama factory and went on to found the American Rosie the Riveter Association. And Lorraine Osborne, who at 17 worked in a B-24 bomber factory in Michigan. And Vivian Litchard, who worked in that same plant in the sewing department. Here's a shout out to all American women of all ages. This is Clinton Porter Hackney at cphackney.com.
Hi, we're back, and everything is possible again. Isn't it beautiful? Well, if you want to keep it this way, buy a stinking podcast. Oh yes, you have to buy a stinking podcast. And you get that at RandiRhodes.com, where we're open all day, all night long. RandiRhodes.com. Get your stinking podcast.
Here's a sample of what you'll hear on the Leslie Marshall Show weekdays, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern on the Progressive Voices Network. Life can't just be a voucher in a charter school. And I think what she would like is everybody to homeschool and, the Bible to be the, academic reference. The problem is kids in more impoverished areas or kids that are in rural areas or kids that just don't meet the academic standard of some of these private institutions out there. That's one of the issues, which is access to money. A voucher isn't going to cover everything. And again, you're leaving the lower income and the poor behind. And then 3, access. One of the reasons we see people in Alaska and Maine going crazy is, if you lose a public school system, you lose the public transportation that's attached to that school system. There are a lot of us out there who work every day and need our children to go to that bus stop, to get on that bus, and we know they're safe, and we know that the teachers are educated to teach our children. Hear the whole story on the Leslie Marshall Show, Monday to Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, 3 to 4 p.m. Pacific on the Progressive Voices Network.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.
Trump should have been impeached during his inauguration speech. And if Jason Chaffetz would put as much effort into investigating all of this crazy, hacking and the Russian influence in our country and our elections and the old postal lease that is in violation of the law now because the lease specifically says that you can't be a member of the government and hold that lease, and Donald Trump does. If he would exert the same, just a quarter of the kind of energy that he expended on Benghazi, against Hillary Clinton, I'm telling you, Donald Trump could have been impeached during the 15, 16-minute speech he regaled us with. on Inauguration Day. It's just unbelievable. And you know, when you look at these town hall meetings, you know, that happened at Jason Chavitz's town hall meeting. That happened in freaking Utah. In a town hall in Utah. In a suburb. Can you imagine what it would have been like there if any black or brown people showed up? Which is why I love the idea of going to gun shows. Just go and buy as much as you can. You know, buy balaclavas. That's always very scary to people. Just that little face mask that you're supposed to use to oh, that just freaks people out. Just go buy those. Oh my God. So, surprise, surprise, General Michael Flynn illegally discussed lifting Obama's sanctions with the Russians before the inauguration. You know, they couldn't even wait to be inaugurated to do things wrong. They couldn't even wait. They had to preempt the wrongness with, law breaking prior to, it's so amazing. And now there's a story, and I'm sure you've heard, that Donald Trump was on the phone with Vlad, the Impaler. He was on the phone with Vladimir Putin, and he didn't know what the START treaty was. And Vladimir was asking about the START treaty, and Donald Trump had to tell him to hold on and ask an advisor, what the hell is the START treaty? But I could kind of understand that because, you know, Donald on the phone with Vladimir, he probably lost his train of thought because he was masturbating so hard. It's his bro. It's his bromance. It's his, his significant love. So I could sort of understand that story. But can you believe all this? I mean, it's not even the first month. They talk about the 100 days of a presidency. We're like in day 20. We have like 80 days to go before it's 100 days. It's just amazing. All right, Sharon in New Mexico.
Hi, Randy. I really like your show.
Thanks.
Listened to you before you came back, and then I missed you so much.
Oh, thank you.
I'm calling about the dolls.
Oh,
when I turned 50, which was a number of years back, I got a voodoo doll, and it was made out of just an off-white cotton and sort of in the shape of a gingerbread man. And then you stitch all around it, leaving a hole to stuff it, but you can write on it to say, in my case, it said menopause and wrinkles and fat and things like that. Those would be very easy for people to make themselves if they're, you got a group that sews. And then you just stick the pin into whatever word on whatever day that moves you to pick on him about this or that. Anyway, I'm going to make one for you over the weekend.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
And I'll send it in, and you can give the idea to your listeners. A description over the phone doesn't make as much sense.
It does.
Unless they see it.
I actually get what you're saying. Sort of like an evil sock puppet.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll be on the lookout for it. Thanks.
Okay.
All right, Sharon.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, we'll need good luck if we're going to surround ourselves with evil dolls. You know, that freaks me out. You know that, right? All right. Brother David. Oh, hey.
Oh, sister, what a week. What a week. What a week.
It's been, I mean, it's like I'm getting whiplash, you know what I mean? It's like, look over here, and over there's law breaking, and here's law breaking. And then they today, they confirmed Tom Price, the guy who wants to, say that pregnancy is a pre-existing condition again, and he's now in charge of HHS. I mean, it's just, they're so intent on putting the worst people everywhere while everyone is, trying to keep up with today's law breaking.
Yes, because it really is almost hourly. It's almost more prolific than he might refuse to name tweeting. Not quite, but right up down there.
You know what? Captain Leary came in today and he said, Ran, I stayed up till 4 o'clock in the morning last night, and so much happened. So what happened since 4 o'clock this morning? And
I can't keep up with it.
And I said to him, okay, all right, they started deportations. Did you see that? And, and they.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so but it's hourly. You're right. It's like freaking hourly. It's unbelievable. And then you wake up in the morning and they go, oh, Tom Price has been confirmed. I'm like, this is a guy who wants to kill Medicare, Medicaid, Obamacare, declare pregnancy.
Well, you know, we're working here in the belly of the beast in Kansas.
The beauty.
Yeah.
Beauty.
They're freaking.
Oh, you stepped on me. I had a really good joke there. All right, never mind.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go on. Repeat it.
It doesn't work that way.
I know it doesn't.
Ask me what the key to comedy is.
What comedy?
Timing.
Well, that was a save. Hashtag F-17. Hashtag stay light. Hashtag nevertheless she persisted.
Yeah.
Yeah. 13,000 women are running for office. New York Magazine reports after the march. Emily's List campaign thing is full. Hi, chat room. Go to 202-482-9207 and complain to the Office of Government Ethics about a certain Kellyanne Conjob hawking Ivanka Trump products from the White House. That's a big one.
You know what?
And
that's like the least of it, really, truly.
Oh, I know, but it's something people can do and start getting involved. The big thing is definitely next Friday. Absolutely. Jill Struck.
So should I come to work or not? I mean, I asked people, it's like most people say I shouldn't, but I don't know what to do. That's why I exempted people who work for themselves.
Oh, wow. Well, we all will be working for ourselves at the rate this is going.
Right, exactly. So you know what? Think about it, and then we'll decide next week.
Well,
why are you breathing like that? You're freaking me out.
I was walking up the stairs outside.
Jeez.
I've been watching squirrels. It's kind of like looking at us right now.
Oh. Okay. Well, listen. Have a good weekend.
You as well, my sweet. I'm sorry I stepped on your joke.
It's okay.
It will come back. Street Davis 2020. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
All
Love you always.
Thank you. Back at you. Richard in Brooklyn.
Hi.
Wow.
The Yemen raid.
That's, you know what? This is like speedballing, man. I tell you. I was like, and then. Ooh.
Yeah.
How's it going?
It's going.
It's going good.
Yeah. I was thinking about the Yemen raid. They said it was supposed to be.
Yeah. Who doesn't? Who doesn't think about the Yemen raid? What are we doing in Yemen anyway?
Well, they said they were going to do it under cover of darkness, and it was originally scheduled for the new moon. But they didn't actually do it until 2 days later. Now the moon rises an hour later every day. So if they postponed it 2 days, then at 2 hours before sunrise, the moon's lighting up the atmosphere. Mm-hmm. And they're covering it up because I was trying to find out what date was.
Aren't we supposed to have a lunar eclipse tonight or something cool like that? And isn't there a comet in the sky tonight too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you into that or just Yemen?
Yeah.
Just Yemen.
Oh, it's a full moon tonight?
Yep.
Yeah.
That explains it.
Yeah, it doesn't. Tonight is a full moon and a lunar eclipse, and there's supposed to be some comet visible as well. So you have a lot of, ethereal things happening. A lot of, beautiful sky tonight to look at.
So exactly 2 weeks before the new moon, it's a full moon.
He's not letting go.
No, they're covering it up because I tried to find out what date the thing was. And I was looking at all the news sources.
Yeah, at all the news sources.
I had to go back a few days to say, they said October 29th raid, October 29th, January 29th raid, January 29th raid.
Uh-huh.
And but after a certain time, nobody mentioned the date. And you can look at any news article today; they won't give you the date. And I was trying to point this out to them, and they cut off the phone call.
That's a little scary. Did you know that the raid was supposed to be on Inauguration Eve, and that the reason it was called because he wanted to look like Reagan, releasing the hostages, right? So he wanted to do it on the night of his inauguration, which would have been the 20th, but they couldn't do it because the moon was not a new moon. So they waited 9 days until they had a new moon. Did you know that?
And they did it 2 days later. They wanted the new moon.
No, they did it on the 29th when there was a new moon.
New moon was the 27th.
In Yemen.
Well,
yeah. How did this guy make it through you? No, how did he make it through you is what I want to know. That was like hysterical. But yes, we have a lot of astronomy going on tonight. We have a lot of sky activity tonight. There's a full moon, a lunar eclipse, and a comet that's all supposed to be visible. Don't know about Yemen. Don't know if they'll see it over there in the Yemen. Why are we in Yemen? And you do know this Yemen raid. It was directed at somebody, at this Al Qaeda dude in Yemen, and we missed. We didn't get him, and this guy is now taunting Donald Trump. Do you know that? He's making videos and he's taunting Donald Trump, and he said, "You got slapped in the face by me and your own country," and he's just baiting him and taunting him, and so expect more things to happen in Yemen. Why are we in Yemen? Rich in Denver.
Hey, good afternoon. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, you bastard. This is better.
Yeah, this is and belated birthday wishes to you. Yeah. I'll tell you why we're in Yemen, and this goes to what the airline executive. He's going to trump up. He's going to start a war. Like you were saying the other day, he's looking for one. He's going to start a war, a false flag operation.
Yeah,
and he's going to start it in Yemen, and he's talking to the airline executive so he can basically hang them off the hook of liability if there's any accidents or another 9/11, which wouldn't shock me at all. Yesterday, NPR reported that the Army head guy in Afghanistan said he needs more troops. It just gets better and better.
Yeah, it really does get better and better. And supposedly yesterday, check this out. You can't. You're not too far off. I mean, we're just opining here, but I don't want to get into conspiracy theory territory. But it does feel like something's about to happen, and it will be a false flag, meaning it will be done just to give him war powers because he's so pissed that he's reviewable now by a freaking court. I got news for him. He's going to be reviewable by a court in war too. Because the cases that court, relied upon yesterday to say he was reviewable were the Guantanamo cases. And they said even a wartime president has to operate within the Constitution. So that being said, that meeting with the airline executives was so weird and scary because he came out and said that he was going to deregulate.
Yeah.
He said he was going to deregulate the airlines. And I made some joke yesterday about, so now we'll have planes crashing, but they won't be crashing because of terrorism. But now... who knows?
No, I bet my life. I'd stand here and say that. And I'm not wearing a tinfoil hat, Randy.
I know I'm not either. You know me. I stick to what I got. I don't even like opining unless I got the facts. I mean, I if I don't have the story, I yell at my own side. I yell at people that agree with me all the time because they don't have their facts right. And I always do it. But this is just my personal feeling. This feels like something is about to happen. And it feels like he wants it to happen because he wants to be a wartime president. And, Bannon freaking lives for war. He wants war.
What you were ex-military. You know Smedley Butler.
Yes,
the highest decorated Marine. War is a racket.
War is a racket.
I'm telling you, Randy, these people, it's sickening. These people think lying is the same thing as getting caught in a lie. It's the same thing as telling the truth. They just make you. I mean, they pushed that Hardy through at 2:00 in the morning.
I know.
I mean, I don't put anything past this clown. It's like you said. This is an apartheid. We are in a minority, and the con. Chaffetz is a complete. He said to the people yesterday at his hometown thing, and he said, "I'm not interested in going on a fishing expedition."
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're all in. It's me. It's Randy. It's all baked into the effing cake.
Oh, I know.
It's sickening. How much. And as far as boycott, I had an idea. You know what? It was never ratified in half the states. Why don't we all just say, okay, F you. We're not going to pay our income taxes. I mean. Stranger things have happened,
Yeah.
And people need to call their and you talk about Randy, and your work is phenomenal. You are, as you say, the information is the realm of the coin.
It's the coin of the realm. It is.
Coin of the realm.
It is.
You do phenomenal work, and you get it first, but first get it right, and that's what I love about you. I'm ex-media as well. I got my degree in broadcasting, and And I read the papers as well. You know, get the papers. You know,
I was just thinking that. Oh my God.
Yeah, I know you're a movie buff. 2 movies you got to check out: Denial with Rachel Weisz, and Timothy Spall, and Truth with Robert Redford. Because we certainly don't have a lot of any of that stuff going on. But these people, the cons are completely going along. I don't know if we can make it to the midterms to get back to House because he's filed it for 2020. What do we do to take back? It's not a democracy anymore.
No.
What do we do to take back at the midterms?
Honestly, we're doing it. I mean, showing up at these town hall meetings is one of the greatest ideas. It's one of the smartest things that, the Tea Party came up with it, and now, the roles are reversed, and we're doing exactly that. We're showing up, and we're telling them to do their job. The reason why that works is because all they care about is getting reelected. And so that is the way to democratically show them that their constituents in suburban Utah have had it with them.
If they rigged the system...
No, I know. I understand. I understand what you're saying. But let's deal with that when we get there, because we know we're already gerrymandered. We all know that the Voting Rights Act has been gutted. We all know that we had, only 50% of the American people turned out, and we've got to get people to turn out in droves so that there is, they can only steal an election when it's close. Okay? When it's not close, it can't be stolen. Remember, Donald Trump won by a total of 77,000 votes in 3 states. Right.
For a commercial-free, on-demand, whenever, wherever listening experience, visit randyrhodes.com for your personal premium podcast today.
I'm David Pakman, host of The David Pakman Show on the Progressive Voices channel. Check out this clip from my show. Hey, trying to silence our senator here in Massachusetts, Elizabeth Warren, has completely backfired on Senate Republicans. The Senate ended up confirming far-right Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions for Attorney General. He was sworn in earlier today by Donald Trump. Late Tuesday night, when the Senate was debating the nomination, Elizabeth Warren read a 30-year-old letter by Coretta Scott King, the widow of Martin Luther King Jr. And that letter criticized Jeff Sessions on his civil rights record. The letter was actually written during Sessions' failed 1986 confirmation for a federal judgeship. He didn't get it because of a number of these racially charged remarks that he made. And in response, the Republican majority Senate voted to rebuke Elizabeth Warren and cut her off while she was speaking. They used a very obscure Senate rule that's basically never used, which prohibits the impugning of other Congress members, and it completely backfired. Check out how it happened on Tuesday night.
Choosing instead to chill the exercise of the franchise by blacks by his misguided investigation. In fact, Mr. Sessions sought to punish older black civil rights activists, advisors, and colleagues of my husband, who had been key figures in the civil rights movement in the 1960s.
Uh-oh.
Mr. President.
They are...
Uh-oh.
Mr. President.
The Majority Leader.
The senators impugn the motives and conduct of our colleague from Alabama as warned by the chair.
And then he went on to actually shut the entire thing down. This also prevented her from speaking about Jeff Sessions on yesterday. This was a totally boneheaded move by the Republicans. This was very late, I think the middle of the night almost. No one would have heard about this speech, which, by the way, is publicly available anyway, if Mitch McConnell hadn't done this. And by silencing Elizabeth Warren, they turned it into a national story that every media outlet is talking about. It might end up being used as footage for a future campaign ad with video of Warren reading the speech. The video is all over corporate media. This has rallied the Democratic base.
After being kicked out of the Senate floor, Elizabeth Warren gave her speech on Facebook Live and millions of people tuned in. Yeah. I mean, this rule is known as Rule 13, Rule 19, I think.
Rule 19, yeah.
Which comes from a fistfight in 1902 that I think the senators were very upset about. Ted Cruz was able to call someone a liar on the Senate floor. They didn't invoke Rule 19.
Oh, no.
But this was just too far, apparently.
Move On raised $250,000 for Elizabeth Warren's 2018 Senate reelection campaign around this within 12 hours of the incident. How did McConnell and the Senate Republicans not realize that this would put her on a pedestal and ultimately make her look better? Everybody coming to her defense. This is an example of what's called the Streisand effect. And this, for people who haven't heard about it, is named after Barbara Streisand, where back in 2003, she tried to suppress pictures of her huge house in Malibu, California. And by trying to suppress the publication of those sort of paparazzi tabloid type pictures, she drew way more attention to the fact that the pictures exist than ever would have happened had she just not done anything. Let one of these magazines, I don't even remember what magazine it was or website, publish the pictures. This is exactly the same thing. This is the Streisand effect.
It's like when Donald Trump just can't let something go and he'll prop up the news story and keep it going for an extra couple of weeks.
I thought the Republican Party was the party of free speech. Oh, right. Only when it's convenient. The same way that this is the party of the free market. Only when that's convenient. And the party of freedom of expression of religion. Only when it's the right religion. Send me your thoughts. I'm on Twitter at @dpacman. You've been listening to part of the David Pakman Show on the Progressive Voices channel. For full audio and video podcasts, interviews, and more, go to davidpakman.com and check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The David Pakman Show.
The Randi Rhodes Show is brought to you by our partners at ITM Trading. Call them at 1-888-OWN-GOLD and ask for a free gold kit. 1-888-OWN-GOLD.
All things Randy at randyrhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randi Rhodes Show.
I believe the world, and particularly the Judeo-Christian West, is in a crisis.
This is the fourth great crisis in American history. We had the Revolution, we had the Civil War, we had the Great Depression of World War II. This is the great fourth turning in American history.
The great fourth turning in American history. And somewhere over the next 10 or 20 years, we're going to come through this crisis. And we're either going to be the country that was bequeathed to us, or it's going to be something completely and totally different.
It is a crisis both of capitalism, but really of the underpinnings of the Judeo-Christian West in our.
What happened?
It was a demon.
It's a voodoo doll. Somebody actually did it to us. Now we have to make voodoo dolls and do it to them. Oh my God. This is one of the scariest videos in the history of videos, okay? This is just Bannon going off about the fourth turning, which is his philosophy.
I believe the world, and particularly the Judeo-Christian West, is in a crisis.
This is the fourth great crisis in American history. We had the Revolution, we had the Civil War, we had the Great Depression of World War II. This is the great fourth turning in American history.
The great fourth turning in American history. And somewhere over the next 10 or 20 years, we're going to come through this crisis. And we're either going to be the country that was bequeathed to us, or it's going to be something completely and totally different.
It is a crisis both of capitalism, but really of the underpinnings of the Judeo-Christian West in our beliefs.
We're on the right side of history. Don't believe the mainstream media. Don't believe the establishment. Do not believe the permanent political class. Fight an embedded aristocracy that is it's Stalingrad.
This rot at the center of the Judeo-Christian West, which is this, as one of our callers call it, the new triune god of cultural Marxism. There's clearly a fifth column here in the United States. That needs to be dealt with. We just got to figure out who is here. There's at least some portion of quote-unquote Muslims that are, if not radicalized, at least believe in Islamic supremacy. You only vet if you're going to let them in. Why even let them in? These are not Jeffersonian Democrats. These are not people with thousands of years of understanding democracy in their DNA. There's something deeper when they see the potential of civilizational jihad as personified by this migrant crisis. You have an expansionist Islam and you have an expansionist China, and they think the Judeo-Christian West is on the retreat.
We're at the very beginning stages of a very brutal and bloody conflict.
Against radical Islam, we're in a 100-year war.
We're clearly going into, I think, a major shooting war in the Middle East again.
We are in an outright war against jihadist Islamic fascism.
It's war. Every day we put up America's at war, America's at war. We're at war. We're going to war in the South China Sea in 5 to 10 years, aren't we?
Oh my God.
We're only at the top of the first inning, right, in taking our country back.
Remember, divine providence reigns on the just and the unjust. Your cause is just.
Oh, he's so sick. This is, this is the actual president of the United States, Steve Bannon. A shooting war, South China Sea, Islamist, jihadist. I mean, the world war that he sees is against China and against the Middle East. It is just, it's frightening what he's preaching here, but that is what he's talking about, his fourth turning, where he thinks we had the revolution and then we had the World War I, whatever, and then the Great Depression. And now this is the fourth crisis. And, there really isn't a crisis, he's just going to create one is what it is. And that's why last night, I got to say this real quick before we go. Just food for thought over the weekend. I have two things I want you to think about over the weekend. One is that, last night, all of a sudden, Trump tweets out something about, he's going to recognize the one China policy. I don't think so. He preemptively started, talking to Taiwan before he talked to President Xi of China. And then all of a sudden last night, he sent like some note to President Xi instead of calling him. And then President Xi, I think, called Trump and said, what the hell's wrong with you? Do you know, really, what is wrong with you? And I think Trump said, no, nothing. Everything's cool. Don't worry. Whatever you want to want China, you got it. And I swear to God, he's doing it as to be inscrutable so China can't figure out where he's coming from. There is going to be some action in the South China Sea. That's what I think the point of that was last night. I almost tweeted it, but you can't. I couldn't explain. Well, I could, but then I just thought I'm too tired, and I don't know if I got this right. I have to think about this overnight. And then the other thing I want you to think about, because we're going to talk about this on Monday, because this is really freaking frightening. And it's not that I didn't see the story. It's that if I spoke about it today on a Friday, I would have cried. And it's Friday, and I didn't want to cry. But the deportations have begun. And I'm sure people saw this in Phoenix. There was this woman. She's going to be, in my estimation, the Rosa Parks of this mass deportation of Mexican movement. She is going to be a civil rights leader. You watch, and she's going to do it from across the border because she has to do it from across the border. Her name is Guadalupe Garcia de Rios. Okay, Miss Rios has lived in the United States for 21 years. No, she doesn't have citizenship or a green card. She lives in the shadows. And de Rios actually did something illegal. Not violently illegal. She's not a violent criminal. She's not any of that. She did use a fake Social Security card to get employment at a water park, a theme park. That's where she was working. And she also got married, and she also married somebody who didn't have citizenship or a green card. So there was no way for her to become naturalized. Anyway, make a long story short, she married this guy. They've had 2 kids here in the United States. She's been living here for 21 years. When she was found to be using a fake Social Security card in 2008, the punishment for her was she went to a detention center for 3 months. Okay, and then when they released her, the Obama administration said, look, to DHS and to ICE, they gave them guidance, and they said, we're looking for violent criminals. This woman isn't a violent criminal. She can make restitution by reporting every year to ICE. We want her to report every year to ICE. And so she started reporting every single year to ICE. Well, yesterday was her scheduled appointment to show up. And people told her not to show up because now Trump is president. And they warned her. She went to Mass the day before. She prayed. She said, I have faith in God. And she turned herself in. She went to, she went to the authorities. And she reported, and they arrested her. She went to an appointment that she had scheduled, knowing what might happen. She also, there was a group, they're called Puente, 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 which means bridge. And she was afraid, so she called Puente, which is an immigrants' rights group, and they said to her, you could skip this, you can go into hiding. And she said, no, I'm going to Mass, I'm going to pray, I'm going to ask God what to do. And she said God told her to do the right thing and to go to the ICE building and to report the way she was instructed to. And she went in there and she said, I had faith in God. And she was trying not to cry. And of course, she went into ICE and they arrested her and put her in a van. And they deported her to a place she hasn't been in 21 years. They deported her to Nogales, Mexico. She's not even from Nogales, but they deported her there. So I knew that if I brought this up today, we would get haters who would say, she broke the law, what don't you understand? So I know you're going to probably run into people like this, and I want you to ask them, if you broke the law, wouldn't you be able to make restitution? Wouldn't you be able to go to county jail, or wouldn't you be able to go to a detention center and pay a fine or make restitution? So what's so different about her? She did a nonviolent crime. She did use a fake Social Security card. It's 8 years ago. Just ask them. Have a good weekend. And think.
Live downstream. I'm not going to win that argument with you because pipelines do leak.
New study finds owners of the pipeline reported 69 spills in the last 2 years. Air pollution linked to increased risk of dementia. More Americans now work in solar jobs than coal jobs. Plus, Sweden votes to go zero emissions by 2050.
Hope that's soon enough. All of those stories and more straight ahead. From BradBlog.com, I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for 6 minutes of independent green news, politics, analysis, and snarky comment.
So it's not safe. It's just safe enough for the Native Americans. No, it's not a race thing. It's that if the pipe leaks, there's fewer of them than of us. And why are there fewer of them?
Yep. This is your Green News Report. Okay, Desi Doyen, things are not looking good up in North Dakota.
Nope, there is bad news for the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, under the direction of the Trump administration, this week suddenly reversed course and granted the final easement needed for completion of the controversial Dakota Access Pipeline, allowing it to cross under the Missouri River near the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe Reservation in North Dakota, an easement that the Corps had previously denied under the Obama administration. The reversal halts a pending environmental impact assessment and further consultation with the tribe, which has fought the pipeline for years with massive protests and in the courts because it threatens their sacred sites and their water supply. Remember, the pipeline had originally been routed away from the majority white city of Bismarck for that exact reason. In an interview with Democracy Now!, Tribal Chairman David Archambault vowed to challenge the decision in court.
Our treaty rights are violated, our human rights are violated, federal laws are being violated, but we need to get that out there. We need to be heard by decision makers, and it seems like the process is trying to expedite and facilitate something that's unlawful.
The tribe has vowed to challenge the decision in court on the grounds that the environmental impact statement was wrongfully terminated. The pipeline company says construction will start in the pipeline. In the wake of the Army Corps decision this week, the City Council of Seattle voted unanimously to divest more than $3 billion held with Wells Fargo, becoming the first major city in the country to sever ties with a bank because of its investment in the Dakota Access Pipeline.
Go get 'em, Seattle.
And they were followed shortly thereafter by Davis, California.
Nice going, Davis.
And inspired by the Women's March, the Standing Rock Sioux tribe and tribes across the country are now teaming up and inviting inviting allies across the country to join them at the Native Nations March. That's on March 10th in Washington, D.C., and held with satellite marches around the world.
A lot of marching lately. Going to be a boon for the shoe industry.
And now a new study released this week backs up the Standing Rock Sioux tribe's concerns over the pipeline. An analysis of federal and state records done by the Louisiana Bucket Brigade, a state-based environmental justice group, found that the company that owns the Dakota Access Pipeline, Energy Transfer Partners, has reported 69 spills over just the last 2 years and polluted rivers in 4 states. Again, that's 69 pipeline spills in just 2 years.
What could possibly go wrong?
Meanwhile, another impact of fossil fuels, Alzheimer's disease. A new study links long-term exposure to vehicle exhaust and other sources of fine particle air pollution and finds that long-term exposure nearly doubles the risk of developing dementia, particularly in older women.
Anybody check the air quality outside of Trump Tower lately?
That's on top of the healthcare costs that are caused by air pollution for asthma, lung disease, and heart disease. But some good news, the solar industry in the United States added 51,000 jobs over the last year, according to a solar industry group. That means there are now twice as many Americans working in the solar industry than are working in the coal industry. Solar now accounts for 1 of every 50 new jobs in the United States.
Don't tell Donald Trump.
And China is moving even faster. In 2016, China doubled its total solar capacity in just 1 year. And finally, Sweden has passed legislation binding all future administrations to reach net zero emissions nationwide by 2045. That's a law to ramp down fossil fuels and ramp up renewables to zero emissions by 2045, and no future administration can overturn it.
Finally, some good news. A shame we have to go all the way to Sweden to get any. For much more on all of those reports and the ones we couldn't get to, please check out our website at greennews.bradblog.com. Don't forget, you can download our reports anytime via Stitcher, TuneIn, or iTunes. Find us, follow us, and share us on the Facebooks and the Twitters at Green News Report. I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
And this has been your Green News Report.